I was surprised to read on Twitter a respected journalist who campaigns for mental health balked the suggestion Harvey Weinstein might suffer from a mental illness. Another said, definitively, that he was not a sex addict, that he was an abuser. I thought to myself, but you can be all three. You can be a sex addict, have mental health issues and be an abuser. The sex addict mentally ill abuser is very familiar to me. Among the things my ex would do was follow me around the house masturbating. Sometimes he'd be in a bathrobe, sometimes not. I remember washing my hair in the shower and opening my eyes to see him on the other side of the glass, masturbating. In restaurants, he would follow me to the loo trying to grope me, like a Benny Hill character with hands outstretched, flexing for a squeeze. No matter where we were, train, car, meeting, church, he'd grab my hand to his priapic crotch. If he'd taken me to a basement to watch him masturbate into a plant pot, I wouldn't have raised an eyebrow. He would call me at work to audibly orgasm from the other end of the line. A female colleague I confided in was terrified of answering my phone. What makes these incidents worse is that on some level they are funny. When he joked about his behavior, his friends would laugh. Typical him, they'd say, as I'm sure it was said a million times, that Weinstein's behavior was typical Harvey. No one thought it must be humiliating for her. What's actually going on here? They thought if she doesn't like it, she should leave. But as any enlightened person knows, it isn't that simple. I spent 10 years of my life with this man. He was a sex addict who was also very abusive and, yes, he had mental health issues. His modus operandi was not, like Weinstein, about chasing other women. It was about a full-on obsession with me. Oh yes, and he loved pornography. And imposing ideas had picked up from pornography on me, among them, slapping me during sex and ejaculating in my face for the money shot. Kate Winslet deliberately didn't thank Harvey Weinstein for her Oscar. The reason I'm writing this down is because these behaviors are by no means confined to the glamour of Hollywood, or starlets, or models. It's everywhere. Look around you. And then look around you again. There is a saying, beware the charming man. My ex is charming, clever and funny. His shtick is making risque comments about sex. People would say I love the way he's so outrageous, he says things other people just wouldn't. Yep, he definitely has no boundaries. He's also utterly convincing. At the end of our relationship, when a friend confronted him over the things he'd done, he said it was because he loved me, because he found me so attractive he couldn't help himself. The subtext was that I should be flattered. He made a big deal of confessing to some of it. He made a fuss of his attendance at intensive rehabilitation courses, therapy and at Sex Addicts Anonymous. And then he'd call me up angry and accuse me of talking about it to people. I get that it was my fault in the first place. Emma Thompson labels Harvey Weinstein a predator. Sex and money are big markers in abuse. They often go hand in hand as ways to control women. If I worked, it was a problem. If I didn't, I was utterly dependent on him. Weinstein's sexual advances were only possible because they were inextricably entwined with his power to offer paid work to women who needed to earn a living. Rejection meant having their reputations trashed by well-placed gossip, slander, basically, and they would be susceptible to his much-stroked and menacing phrase, "You'll never work in this town again." Weinstein's was a case of predatory sexual behavior in plain sight. So was my ex's. I'm assuming, hoping, his friends didn't know how much worse his behavior became once they'd said goodbye and driven home to comfortable beds where they could fall asleep in peace. I'm assuming none thought I was in danger. Or maybe they did and they turned a blind eye. They certainly teased me. They might ask me how many times a day I had to have sex. One started to date someone with a similarly dangerous libido and phoned me after having to perform 15 times in one weekend to ask if I had any tips on how to speed up each ordeal. Even when my ex would pull out his member, "Oh God, that's so typical," was the response, as well as a lot of giggling and repeating of "Oh God, that's terrible, isn't terrible." Shuttershock. Roman Samborski. "I don't know how you put up with it," was the closest anyone came to acknowledging it was unacceptable. But it was said with a hearty laugh behind the closed bedroom door. His behavior was so much worse. If I didn't want to have sex, I was accused of withholding, of being a bad girlfriend. The light would be snapped on, the duvet ripped off, and the berating would begin. I was overweight, I was losing my looks, no one else would find me attractive. Did I know that? Did I know he was the only person who would find me attractive? He even told me my vagina was ugly. Model and founder of Girls Talk at Adwabo, and my story starts in London. I was born there. I've spent most of my life there. It is my home. Instagram has helped me connect to girls all over the world. It has given me a platform to share my story, speak my truths, and give other girls the opportunity to do the same. Illustrator at Lucille_Clark. My story reflects my experience as an illustrator between two cultures, being French and living in London. It's a door to my sketchbook, my personal research and techniques, and a way to raise attention on topics that matter to me. Musician at Mabel McVeigh. Strong female role models have always been very important to me and my story. When looking at a camera, it isn't about a man being on the other end, it's about me. It's about feeling positive about myself, and I want other young women to feel confident about themselves too. Activist at Glacier996. Girl, my story is about raising awareness for climate change and adapting the aesthetic of eco-friendly to appeal to the generation. Artist at Buttonfruit. I'm a compulsive painter of faces. I seek to portray the confidence and power that people gain to self-adornment, but I always aim to show a hint of inner vulnerability. Instagram is the perfect environment to post my paintings and drawings. It's fantastic to get an instant reaction to new paintings I've been working on, and it spurs me on to keep creating. The community of artists I'm lucky enough to be part of is the most inspirational and supportive I've known since leaving art college. It is also amazing that so many international clients find me on Instagram, which has given my career a brand new lease of life. Model at I am Iskra. My story is about showing the world that you can stand up for yourself when trolls or online bullies try and attack you and bring you down. Instagram has completely changed my life, opening up opportunities in my career and allowing me to find my voice. When I began posting honest and unretouched photos on Instagram, I received hundreds and eventually thousands of supportive messages and comments. I felt more confident about my body and most importantly found a platform I could use to help others who struggle with body image and self-esteem. Vlogger and artist at Becky A. Brown. My story is that I battle depression and trichotillomania, where I'm compelled to tear out all my hair. I strive to create more awareness for my disorder, whilst trying to bring hope to other sufferers around the world. I mainly use Instagram to document small but important moments from each day of my life, a combination of sad and uplifting experiences, but all important regardless. My main focus is to show others that no matter what conditions or disorders we have, we can have normal lives and be happy. Shepherdess at The Running Shepherdess. My story is about a woman working in a predominantly male environment. I hope that it shows that although I may not be as physically strong as the men working on the farm, I am just as capable. Flower farmer at Gand. Gorgeous flowers. My story captures a life in flowers on our flower farm in Oxfordshire. I strive to show the changing seasons through palliative flowers and foliage that I grow, which I use to inspire and create my floral designs. Instagram has helped me to champion British cut flowers and share how we sustainably grow them to produce naturally beautiful and stylish designs which reflect our gardens and landscape. Cyclist at Lady Velo. My stories is a narrative of my life on two wheels. Through my combination of positive images and words, I aim to redefine what the stereotype of cycling is and use my voice to encourage other women to do the same. Instagram has given me a platform to show diversity in cycling does exist. It allows me to reach other everyday women, and inspire them to get out there and ride, smash stereotypes along the way and encourage them to share their stories. Entrepreneur at Sir. My story is about life as a single mother and small business owner. I believe in the power of sisterhood and the importance of sharing stories, so I try to stay extremely candid with my posts, exposing the struggles and triumphs of motherhood and the early stages of a creative brand. I'm passionate about forming real connections, celebrating women and throwing out waves of positivity and self-acceptance in order to build a sense of community. Student at Maths Biochem. My story captures the changing attitudes towards teenage girls taking traditionally male-dominated subjects in school, showing them that subjects don't come with a gender. Skateboarder at Viva Gomez 12. My story captures the strength and versatility of female skaters. In the world of skateboarding, it's common for a guy to say he's never seen a girl skateboarder. I hope that my photographs shine a light on the amazing ladies who are out there ripping the streets and encourage other women to get involved. Activists at Sisters Uncut. Sisters Uncut is an intersectional feminist direct action group that campaigns against cuts to domestic violence services in the UK. We often post photos of our actions on Instagram because it's a way for us to share our demands amongst a wide audience. The further we can spread our message, the more we can build a movement and reach people who might not have heard about us otherwise. It's important that we show our sisters that we are fighting for and alongside them, and by capturing our actions and sharing them on Instagram, people can connect with what we are doing online. There are many women and non-binary people on Instagram who inspire and encourage us. Activist and DJ at Munro Bergdorf. My story is one of self-empowerment and self-belief. Growing up, there weren't any aspirational trans women of color in the media I could relate to, so hopefully through documenting my achievements and experiences I can show younger trans girls and boys that their gender isn't something that should stand in the way of what they want to accomplish in life. Artist and unskilled worker. My story is about me waking up to painting at the age of 48 and committing and being disciplined to the action. I have learned more about myself through this process than in any other experience in my life. I post my work to Instagram and I consider it finished. At this point I am able to see the work outside of the environment it was created, and in doing so, I gain a new perspective. Instagram has cut out the traditional gatekeepers, which allows for my work to be seen by a wider audience. Entrepreneur at Selfish Mother. My story is since 2011. The year I had my firstborn, Rafferty. The year I was a mixed-up new mum. The year I discovered sanity lay in my sense of self. The year my blog zine and brand Selfish Mother was born. Instagram is a window to Selfish Mother, a way to connect with our like-minded tribe. Designer and vlogger at Dinah Tokyo. My story is all about inspiring women through style, in particular the Muslim modest dresser that loves expressing her individuality. Deconstructing the stereotype that the woman in a hijab is oppressed, and reinventing what it means to be a British Muslim woman in today's society. Artist at Tilly2Millie. I use Instagram as a platform to connect with inspiring and creative people around the world. My main theme is paper dolls, which I make using magazines and newspapers. For me, they represent a connection with raw emotion to which only children are privileged. They express my emotions of joy, sadness, hope and fear. Because of Instagram I started taking them on my travels, and it is truly wonderful to find little corners of the world where they look at home. Activist at the Worldwide Tribe. My story demonstrates how love and compassion come out on top. Despite the most difficult circumstances, humanity will prevail. My story took me on a journey from working in fashion in London, to living in a refugee camp in Calais, France. After a post I wrote about my first visit there went viral. My story is about encouraging and inspiring responsibility and power within each of us to stand up for what we believe and create positive change. Blogger at The Malaya Long Bookshelf. My story is about the importance of literature and how reading the right book can change your life. My aim is to show how fun and brilliant books can be, and that they're not boring, dusty tomes you might remember with dread from school. It wasn't enough to do other intimate things to him to get out of the sex. Penetrative sex was the only thing that counted. And he kept a record of how often he got it. On one occasion, after what he termed a 2-week famine, he staged a rape on me, saying after had gone through the motions of wrestling my clothes off, pinning me down with his hand over my mouth and pressing down on me with full force, that I was overreacting because I called the police. In the end, I didn't press charges. Frequently he would do things to me when I was asleep, and I would wake up to him masturbating with his fingers inside me. I showed him a case in the newspaper where someone was jailed for this under sexual assault, and he laughed and said, "How is that assault if a woman waking up a man with a blowjob wouldn't?" Scotland Yard investigates 3 more Weinstein sexual assault claims. He loved to say that women who experienced marital rape and domestic abuse would hate me, despise me, for suggesting my experiences were in any way comparable. The only time he would apologize was if I cried. Then he would say that I pushed his buttons. At this point I'm sure you're screaming, why did I think any of this was permissible behavior? There is not space enough here for an exposition on my childhood or teenage experiences, but actually none of that was extremely unusual. The main point is that by the time it got really bad I was in too deep. And I did try to reason, to argue that he shouldn't behave like this, that it was wrong. Why didn't I leave him? I did many times, and he would win me back, apologetic and chastised. He was skilled in cajoling and very, very persistent. His big fantasy that he never got to enact was urinating on me. He asked to do this countless times, saying, "Why not? My last girlfriend let me." Apparently I was a prude for saying no. Harvey Weinstein in 60 seconds. According to the Office for National Statistics, there is no reliable data on sexual violence in relationships because it is so underreported. In its advice on sexual abuse, the NHS says evidence suggests 45% of all rape is committed by partners, and less likely to come to the police than rape committed by strangers because of this underreporting. Since most women who experienced sexual harassment or abuse or rape when I was in my teens and 20s were not taken seriously, they didn't bother to tell. The idea that women were asking for it was still prevalent. Some of the Weinstein cases go back decades, too. Unfortunately, society's hardwired acceptance of women being objectified and harassed is hard to reverse. It means that these behaviors will continue long after the media's obsession with Weinstein is sated.